I was sitting at the bar with my good friend Toby, celebrating what was shaping up to be a very lucrative deal for both his company and mine. We finished the deal with a beer and took a long sip when we heard a loud noise from the other side of the bar. "What the hell is going on there?" asked Toby. "No idea," I said, when we both looked. We saw a young blonde woman sitting in a booth surrounded by several rather large men. She was clearly tipsy and was laughing very loudly at something one of the men said. We both noticed her outfit. She was wearing a very short skirt and a loose sleeveless top. If it weren't for the long blonde hair and the rose tattoo on her shoulder, she could have passed for my wife, Donna. But I knew it couldn't be Donna, since she was on one of her twice-monthly business trips. Her trips could last from 3 to 5 days, and I hated it when she left. This time, she stayed in Houston for 4 days, working with the management of the factory there. The company she works for sells security equipment to a number of factories across the country, so she is often on the road. That's why I decided to meet Toby in Oklahoma City. I decided that when she was gone, it would be the best time for us to meet, and it would not interfere with my family life. While we were watching, Blondie stood up and the whole group left the bar. They walked right past us. She was holding hands with men on her sides, one black, the other Hispanic. As she passed by, she looked at me, and I saw her dark blue eyes. They all laughed as they walked past and headed for the door. "Are you okay, Bob?" Toby asked me after they left. "By the way, it's me. Bob Carson is head of product development at Riker Industries in Denver, Colorado. I was tasked with closing a deal with Toby's company to produce a new line of air conditioning controls for a new set of energy-efficient smart homes. Given all the environmental concerns and commitment to sustainability, this would benefit both our companies. Today's celebration is the culmination of these efforts." "Yes," I said. "It's just, this woman reminds me a lot of my wife, Donna." "Isn't she in Houston?" asked Toby. "Yes," I said, "but something about this blonde bothered me." "Don't ask me to explain this." Just then, the waitress came to our table. We ordered 2 more beers, but I stopped her before she left. "What can you tell me about this blonde?" I asked. "Oh, she?" she asked in response. "I've seen her here several times. There is always a flock of men trailing behind her. You don't want to meet her, do you?" "No, I was just curious," I said. We finished our beer and headed out for the night. I promised to keep in touch with Toby and headed to my room for the night. Once there, I tried to call Donna, but the call went straight to voicemail. I found this quite strange since she always kept her phone nearby. I tried to call her at the hotel where she was staying in Houston, but was told that she had checked out early in the morning. It was not unusual for Donna to juggle 2 clients on one visit, but she always made sure to let me know if her travel plans changed. I sent a message. "How are you doing? Everything is fine?" I received an answer quite quickly. "I'm tired," she wrote. "Long day, getting ready for bed." "Where are you?" I wrote in response. "At the hotel," she answered. "Where else?" "Really, where else?" I thought to myself. What the hell is going on here? It wasn't like Donna to lie to me, or was it so? "I'll be home on Friday evening as planned. See you then." "Love you," she wrote in a follow-up message. Reading between the lines, I realized that this was her code for "don't pester me." "I love you even more," I wrote in response. The next day I returned home confused. If Donna wasn't at her hotel, then where was she? Was she even in Houston, or did she go somewhere else? I decided to talk to her about it when I saw her. Friday arrived soon enough, and Donna made it home just as she said she would. In fact, she got home before me and her car was already in the garage. As I walked up the stairs, I heard the water running in the shower. I undressed and decided to join her. "Ah!" she screamed when I opened the shower door. I went over and tried to hug her, but she wouldn't let me. "What's the matter?" I asked. "I haven't seen you in days, and you're acting like I'm some kind of rapist or something." "You scared me to death," she said. "Please, just let me take a shower and I'll be out in a few minutes, okay?" I could understand when they didn't want to see me, so I shrugged and left. "It doesn't matter," I said. "I missed you, and I just wanted to show you some affection, that's all." I ran out of the bathroom, got dressed, and headed downstairs, where I grabbed a beer and sat down to watch the news. She came down about half an hour later, wearing shorts and a t-shirt. "I'm sorry I yelled at you," she said. "I missed you too. It was a terrible trip. I tried to call you on Wednesday," I said. "Where have you been?" "I was in my hotel room," she said. "Really? Then why did they tell me that you checked out early that morning?" "Sorry, I forgot to tell you," she said. "There was a leak in the bathroom, and the floor was wet. They didn't have another room for me, so I went to another hotel. I should have told you. I was worried about you, and I had good news for you," I told her. "Oh, what is this? You know that company in Oklahoma City that we were trying to work with?" I asked. "I visited there while you were in Houston and met with the financial director. We managed to close the deal, and now we can make a lot of money from it. If all goes well, I'll get a handsome commission and we can start thinking about kids." "Were you in Oklahoma City 2 days ago?" she asked. I sensed some apprehension in her voice. "Yes, I was. Why did you ask?" "You didn't tell me you were going there," she said. It was spontaneous. "Toby said he was free, so I flew there and met him, stayed the night, and then came home," I said. "I thought you were in Houston and wouldn't miss me. I tried to call you to let you know, but I couldn't reach you. Then I called the hotel, and they told me that you checked out early in the morning." "I'm sorry," she said. "I should have told you, but I didn't want to bother you." "It wouldn't be difficult," I said. "Anyway, I have some news for you too," she said. "About?" "My territory has been expanded. I am replacing one of the other representatives who is leaving, so that means I'll be traveling even more. Maybe as many as 4 or 5 days a week," she said. 4 or 5 days a week? Every week?" I asked in shock. "I almost never get to see you as you are." "How long should this continue?" "I don't know. Until they bring someone to take his place. Maybe within the next 3 months." "Shit," I said. "When will this start?" "On Monday. I'm flying to Miami on Monday morning." "When did you find out about this?" I asked her. "Last night when I checked into the office." "Fucking amazing." We had dinner, watched TV, then went to bed where we made love before falling asleep. I wanted to spend as much time with her as possible before she left for Miami, so we went dancing on Saturday night, which led to another night of wild sex. On Sunday, we slept in and spent most of the morning naked in bed. She finally got up around 1 o'clock to start getting ready. I got up with her and did my usual weekend yard work. That evening, we ordered pizza and ended the day by making love again. She kissed me as she left for the airport on Monday morning. "Keep this nice and warm for me," she said, running her hands down the front of my pants. "Count on it," I said, kissing her casually. I looked at her and then got to work. She called me every evening to let me know she was okay. When she returned, we spent the weekend making mad, passionate love. This went on for about 4 weeks. And then it happened. It was Monday morning, and I had just had my first cup of coffee since arriving at the office. Donna left for New York on Sunday, telling me she should be there early Monday morning. She also said that this trip was supposed to last at least 5 days, and possibly more. I wasn't very happy about it, but she assured me that everything was fine, and we would reap the benefits if everything went well. After drinking my second cup of coffee, I headed back to my office. I felt a strong urge to urinate, so I went to the men's room. It was then that I felt pain, the likes of which I had never experienced before. It was as if my dignity was on fire. I remembered hearing guys talk about similar symptoms when I was in the service, and I realized that Donna had rewarded me with something. I told my secretary that I needed to go to the doctor and headed out of the office. Doc Brown had been my primary care physician since I got out of the Army, and I knew he would figure this out quickly. After taking samples and running tests, he returned with news. "I'm sorry, Bob, but you have a case of gonorrhea," he said. He gave me an antibiotic injection and a pill. Then he started asking about my sex life, how many women I've slept with and stuff like that. "I've only had sex with one person in the last 7 years, I told him. My wife, Donna. I was married to Donna for 6 years, but a year before our wedding I only dated her. He looked at me with a sad expression on his face. "I understand," he said. "She needs to see a doctor as soon as possible." He gave me a piece of paper with instructions that he said I should follow, which included no sex for 2 weeks. No problem there. There was no way I was going to touch Donna again. Having explained everything to me, he sent me on my way. I paid for my visit and headed to the exit. When I got to my car, I called my boss and gave him the short version of what was happening. He had been through a divorce himself and knew what I was going through, so he gave me the next couple of days off to get the situation under control. I needed to know what the hell my wife was doing and who she was doing it with. So I did some research, found a private investigator, and called. "Hammer Investigations, how may I help you?" asked a friendly female voice. I introduced myself and asked for a meeting. The receptionist said I could come in right now if I wanted to meet with the investigator. I did so I told her my name. "Very well, Mr. Carson. Mr. Hammer will see you when you arrive here." I found an office that was located in a quaint business park near a doctor's office. I half expected to see a smoky back room and was pleasantly surprised when I walked into the well-appointed office. I walked up to the receptionist's desk and introduced myself. "Mr. Hammer is expecting you," the young woman said with a wide smile. "Follow me." I couldn't help but admire her legs and ass as she walked. Her long hair fluttered with every step. She knocked on the door and opened it, letting me inside. A large, barrel-chested man stood up and shook my hand. "James Hammer," he said as we shook hands. "Please take a seat. Would you like something to drink? Coffee? Tea?" "No, I'm fine, thanks anyway," I told him. After the secretary left, James turned to me. "What can I do for you today, Mr. Carson?" he asked. He listened and took notes as I told him what had happened so far. "Have you already talked to a lawyer?" he asked. "No, not yet," I said. He nodded his head. "It just so happens that we work for several lawyers in the area," he told me. "If you want, I can recommend one to you." "That would be great. Thank you," I said. "You say your wife is in New York?" he asked. I nodded my head. "Is she going somewhere else this week?" "I don't know," I said. "She never mentioned going anywhere else. I can call her office and find out." "Why don't you do it?" I took out my phone, dialed the contact number for her office, and called. After a couple of rings, I heard the voice of her secretary, Janice Billings. I asked to speak to my wife's assistant, Patricia Holder. A few seconds later, I heard Patricia's voice. "Hello, Pat. This is Bob Carson. I was wondering if you could give me some information regarding my wife's itinerary," I said. "She usually leaves it with me when she goes on her trips, but I seem to have lost it." "I'm sorry, Mr. Carson, but Mrs. Carson doesn't work here anymore," she said. "Didn't she tell you?" "Told me what?" "She quit about a month ago," Patricia said. "I am surprised she didn't tell you anything." "She didn't say anything about leaving?" I said. "Did she say why she was quitting?" "Something about the opportunity to make more money doing what she loves to do most," Patricia told me. "Did she tell you the name of the company she works for, Patricia?" "No, she didn't do that," Patricia said. "Sorry, Mr. Carson, but I just don't have any information for you." "It's okay, Patricia," I said. "Anyway, thank you." We finished the conversation, and I told James what Patricia said. "Interesting," he said. And then it dawned on me. I installed a phone tracking app on her phone a few months ago after she lost it on a previous trip. Luckily, the phone was found and handed over to one of the hotel staff, and Donna was able to return it before she boarded her flight back home. When she returned, I installed the app on her just in case she lost it again. I opened the app and waited for it to report the location of her phone. According to the app, her phone was located at the Courtyard New York Manhattan Hotel. She told me she was staying at the Times Square Hotel in Manhattan. Why was she in another hotel? I showed James what my application said, and he took note of it. Then I remembered the night I was with Toby. "What if she disguised herself?" I asked. "Would your guys be able to track her then?" "We have ways around this," he said. "Do you think your wife can change clothes?" I told him about the woman I saw that night when I was with Toby. He thought for a moment before answering. To me, this sounds like more than just a typical cheating spouse situation. Obviously, your wife is hiding something from you, Mr. Carson, he said, and she went to great lengths to keep you in the dark. I do have colleagues in New York and other cities who work for me from time to time. I can get them involved, but it will cost more. I need to know what the hell she's doing, I said. Connect them to this, please. I sent James some photos of Donna. He acknowledged receipt of my photos, then handed me some paperwork to fill out. I'll get to it right now, he said, and I'll look after her in New York. It'll probably take a few days, but we'll get to the bottom of it. I'll call you when I have a report ready for you. He handed me a card with the inscription, Robin Hawkins Lawyer. I looked at the card and put it in my pocket. She's the smartest lawyer in the world, said James. Sharks cross the road when they see it coming, if you know what I'm getting at. I recommend that you call her right now. Tell her you talked to me. If you'd like, I'll make sure she gets a full copy of my report. Thank you. I appreciate it, I said. At this point, we ended our meeting, stood up and shook hands. I took the documents to the secretary and left them with a substantial deposit. When I left the office, I took out the business card James had given me and called. Robin was unavailable, but I was able to get an appointment for 8 a.m. on Wednesday. Perfect. From there, I headed home. I thought about calling or texting Donna, but decided not to. In the past, she always called me when she finished her daily work, so I decided to play along and let her think that I didn't know anything. However, I decided to look through her documents, which she kept locked in her desk drawer. The lock on her desk came with 2 keys, the same as mine. She had the key, and so did I, just as she had the key to my desk. Once upon a time, it would never have occurred to me to intrude on her privacy. But that was before she lied and betrayed my trust. I opened the drawer and looked at the folders neatly arranged inside. Donna was very good at organization and liked to keep everything together. That was the only time I was glad she did it. I started searching and found a thick folder filled with bank statements. They were all from a bank we didn't use. Then I remembered that she had a separate account when we got married. I thought she closed her old account when we opened a joint account shortly after we got married, but apparently she didn't. There were statements made at least a year before we got married. The most recent one, dated just over 3 weeks ago, showed a balance of more than $500,000. What the hell is this? I asked myself. I looked at the statements and saw some fairly large deposits from a company called Stanton Enterprises. I had never heard of this company before and made a note to check it out. I've also seen withdrawals for things like expensive clothing, jewelry, wigs, hotel rooms, and plane tickets. One of the tickets was for a round-trip flight from Houston to Oklahoma City. Looking at the date, I saw that the ticket had been purchased a couple of days before my meeting with Toby. Could this be? Was the woman I saw in that bar really dressed up as Donna? Looking deeper, I discovered 3 payments to Planned Parenthood clinics. The first was dated about a year after we got married. The second happened a year and a half later, and the third a couple of years after that. I needed to know more, so I looked further. I found a folder that contained several receipts and statements from various doctors and clinics. The first in the pile was from the doctor she had seen just before leaving for her current trip. Accordingly, she was examined and treated for gonorrhea. On top of that, I found 3 receipts from different clinics for D&C. I didn't need to look for them. I already knew what they were for. Since we got married, she has had at least 3 abortions and never told me about it. She didn't even tell me she was pregnant. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. That was not all. I found a folder full of tax forms. About 3 years ago, Donna insisted that we fill out separate tax forms. She said she was concerned that her bonuses and commissions could put us in a much higher tax bracket. We discussed this for a while, but in the end, I relented. Now I know the truth about why she wanted to do this. In addition to her declaration, which indicated that she made much more than she let on, I found transfers from a company called Stanton Enterprises. The most recent one showed that she received a significant amount of money from this company. But for what exactly? The contents of another folder provided a clue. In it, I saw what looked like signed consent forms and a contract between Donna and Stanton Enterprises. I didn't understand the full legal meaning, but I managed to get the gist of the document. It turned out that Donna agreed to appear in at least 5 full-length adult films every year for 5 years. The document was signed, notarized, and dated just over 3 years earlier. Next to Donna's signature was another, from one Harold Stantone, President and CEO of Stantone Enterprises. I took the folders to our copier and made copies of everything, which I placed in another folder that I was going to take to the lawyer. I scanned the most incriminating documents into a PDF file and saved it to a flash drive. My plan was to email them to James. I put everything back in her drawer, closed it, and locked it. I felt like I had more than enough evidence, but I needed some context for it all. Was she cheating on me throughout our entire marriage? And where the hell is all this extra money coming from? I didn't have access to her email or text messages, so I was at a disadvantage. I emailed the files to James and then called him to let him know. He thanked me and said he would add it to the mix and see what he could find. From there, I went upstairs to our master bedroom. We each had a dressing room, and I usually stayed away from her, again out of respect for her privacy. I went into her closet and started rummaging through it. I found several bags of clothes containing skimpy dresses and other outfits, more suitable for nightclubs than anything else. I also found a couple of wigs, one of which was similar to one I saw on a woman in Oklahoma City. She also had one of those little plastic drawers that you could stack. I rummaged through the drawers and saw several small boxes. Opening them, I found contact lenses. I never knew Donna to wear glasses or contact lenses, but I noticed something strange about them. Taking a closer look, I realized that these were just cosmetic products designed to change the color of the owner's eyes. I also found a small pamphlet that appeared to contain temporary tattoos. One of them looked like a rose I saw on a woman in Oklahoma. Damn, I thought. How far would Donna go to pull the wool over my eyes? Who is this woman I'm married to? Digging further, I found a box in one corner containing a variety of sex toys. I once told her that I would like to see how she plays with herself using toys like this, but she rebuffed me, calling it perverted. At the bottom of the box, I found a DVD in a plastic case. I pulled it out and saw that it had DD and the Boys Volume 1 raw footage written on it in black marker. What the fuck? I went downstairs, put the DVD in the player, and turned on the TV. I turned on the record player and noticed what looked like a narrow, upholstered bench in a dark room. There was a date stamp in the lower right corner indicating that the video was taken about 3 years ago. Interesting, I thought to myself. The bench was flooded with bright light. I saw Donna approach the bench wearing a short sundress. She also wore a long red wig, no doubt in an attempt to hide her true identity. I heard a rough male voice in the background. "You came on time? Fine. Now take off your clothes," a male voice commanded. "Yes, sir," Donna said quietly, nodding her head. She unbuttoned her dress, pulled the straps off her shoulders, and let the dress fall to the floor. She was completely naked underneath. A large man, wearing only a towel, walked up to her and examined her as if she were a piece of meat. "I see you are married," he said, raising her left hand. The camera zoomed in on her hand, and I saw the rings I put on her fingers when we got married. "Yes, sir, I am married," she said. "Does your husband know what you do?" he asked. "He knows," she said. "Is he okay with this?" asked the man. Donna nodded her head. "Yes, sir, he's fine," she told him. "He knows he can never satisfy me, so he said I could go and find someone to satisfy me sexually." "What?" I screamed at the TV. I never said anything like that. Then it dawned on me that maybe this was the script she was supposed to follow. Then there were sex scenes with several men. I noticed that none of them used protection. It's no wonder she caught gonorrhea, I thought. It is unknown what else she might have. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. I was devastated. I cried, screamed, and screamed. How could she do this to me? To us? At that moment, I realized that all the love I felt for her disappeared, replaced by burning hatred. I wanted her to die, to leave my life forever. I needed to get out of there, so I cleaned up and went to Hitchhikers, a bar and grill that I like to visit sometimes. I ordered a beer and a burger and sat down to think about what had gone wrong in my marriage. I racked my brain trying to figure out what I had done that made Donna do what she did. I always treated her with kindness and respect. I showered her with love from the moment we were together, often buying her flowers or cards just to tell her I loved her. I thought we had a satisfying sex life. I know I was satisfied, and she seemed happy too. I never even thought about cheating on her. I would never hurt her like that. So why is she doing this? I finished my burger and looked at the time, 4 Igor p.m. I had an idea and called Robin Hawkins' office. After what I discovered, I knew I would go crazy until I could start the divorce process. I listened to the secretary make her speech and then made my request. "Well, let me take a look, Mr. Carson," she said. "It seems there has been a cancellation and Miss Hawkins is free tomorrow at 8 a.m. Would that suit you?" "Absolutely," I told her. "Very well, I'll reschedule your appointment right now and she'll see you first thing in the morning." "Thank you," I told her. "See you then." It made me feel a little better. Shortly after this call, my phone rang. It was Donna. I thought about not answering it, but decided to go ahead and answer. "Yes," I said when I answered the call. Bob, it's me, Donna," she said, a little shocked by my abrupt greeting. "Are you okay?" "Not really, Donna," I said. "I had a really bad day. How are you? It's a little early for you, isn't it?" "Well, it's not too early," she said. "You know, I'm in New York. I just wanted to broach the subject and let you know that I'm going out to dinner and then be busy with clients in the evening." "Thanks for letting me know," I said. "How is everything going for you?" "Pretty good, actually," she said. "The deal we're doing looks like it's going to really benefit our bottom line." "That's good," I told her. "Bob, are you sure you're okay?" she asked in a concerned tone. "I'm a little worried. You don't look like yourself." "I just don't feel very good right now," I said. It wasn't really a lie. Just thinking about her right now makes my stomach churn. "Sorry, is there anything I can do?" she asked. "No, you can't do anything," I said. "I'll go to bed a little early. Maybe if I still feel bad tomorrow, I'll go see someone." "Well, go and take care of yourself," she said. "I want you to be in perfect health when I return. You know, I miss you." "Yes," I said. "I love you," she said, signaling the end of the conversation. "Me too," I told her, before ending the conversation. I wondered if she noticed that I didn't tell her I loved her either, but I didn't really care if she loved me or not. I finished my burger and headed home, where I lay on the couch and watched TV until I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up early, made coffee, showered, got dressed, and grabbed everything I needed to meet Robin. I got there a few minutes before 8 hours and was immediately ushered inside. Robin stood up and shook my hand. She looked about my age, with long, wavy, dark hair. "Good morning, Mr. Carson," she said. "What can we do for you today?" I told her everything I knew and placed a large folder on her desk that contained all the evidence I had found so far. Robin looked through it all, and her eyes widened as she looked at all the documents. When she finished, she put the folder down and looked at me. "I take it you have already spoken to Mr. Hammer?" she asked. "That's right," I said. And I also provided him with some of this information. He told me that he had colleagues in New York and they would look after her there. "Okay," she said. "What do you want to get from this?" "That's it," I said. "I want her to disappear from my life. I want to keep my house, my pension, my income, everything. As far as I understand, she can receive $500,000 for her account, pension, and her personal property. I'm not ready to give her a dime in support." "Looking at the financials, it seems like she earns significantly more than you," Robin said. "I don't think there will be any problems with support. The court may force you to sell the house and give her half the proceeds and part of your joint assets. But I will do my best to keep this to a minimum. Fortunately, in this state you can sue on the basis of adultery, and once it is proven, most judges here use it when dividing property. I'll talk to James, see what he has, and come up with something." "When she returns?" "Sunday afternoon," I told her. "Perfect. This will give me enough time to put everything together and file a lawsuit, she said. She handed me a business card, having previously written her personal cell phone number on the back. She also handed me a paper with a set of instructions. If anything happens, don't hesitate to contact me. Don't do anything stupid. I will call you when the documents are ready to be sent. Thank you, I said. She smiled and stood up, signaling that the meeting was over. We shook hands, and I left the office, stopping at the secretary's desk to leave the advance. The next 2 days passed quietly. My daily routine was the same. Get up, go to work, come home, eat, go to bed. My boss said I could take time off, but I was restless and couldn't just sit at home doing nothing. Robin called me on Thursday afternoon and asked if I could meet her and James at her office the next morning. I agreed and told my boss, who gave me Friday off. That evening, Donna called me. I just wanted to let you know that everything is going according to plan and I will be home on Sunday afternoon, she said. That's good to hear, I said. What time do you think you will be home? I'll take a taxi from the airport and be home around 1 suor, she told me. Then we can celebrate. Do you like it? Yes, of course, I said. Okay, honey, she said. See you then. Hope you took your vitamins. I plan to have sex with you half to death. I chuckled at that. Sounds tempting, I said. See you then. We finished the conversation, and I leaned back in my chair with a smile. Oh yeah, someone's about to get screwed, I thought to myself. The next day, I showed up at Robin's office a few minutes before our scheduled meeting and was immediately ushered into a conference room. I shook hands with James and Robin and was introduced to 2 large men in dark suits. Bob, this is Agent Smith, and this is Special Agent Jones, Robin said. They both work for the FBI. FBI? I asked. Why is the FBI involved in this? We'll come back to this, Robin said. Please, let's sit down and discuss this. We took our seats, and Robin took out the divorce papers. They were filed in court yesterday afternoon. I wrote them down as you asked. You said that your wife should be home tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Yes, that's right, I said. Okay, she said, handing the papers to James. Then James will give them to her. He's also a notary, so he can witness her signature if she signs. I think she will do just that once she realizes her situation. James opened his briefcase and put papers in it. He then pulled out a thick folder and a stack of DVDs and placed them on the table. What does all of this mean? I asked. This is my final report, James said. He handed me a photograph of a rather scruffy-looking man with slicked-back hair. Who is this? I asked. He looks like a real creep. James chuckled. His name is Harold Stanton, James said. And you're right about that. He actually makes the creeps look like Boy Scouts. He runs a national chain of strip clubs from his headquarters in Richmond, Virginia. He is also actively involved in the adult film industry. He's quite a colorful character. A few years ago, he ran for Congress and was soundly defeated. He has caused quite a stir on social media with some of his crazy tirades. About 5 years ago, he founded an exclusive men's organization. The entry requirements were quite simple. All a man had to do was pay a $5,000 membership fee and have the required physical attributes, James said. What do you mean by correct physical characteristics? I asked. They must be very well provided for, said James. At least 9 inches. You mean, yes, they are all required to have great virtues, said James, answering my question before I could ask it. This organization has branches in a number of cities throughout the country. They get together once or twice a month for group sex. Sometimes they recruit local girls. Other times, Stanton arranges for someone to take part. Your wife was one of the first women he recruited. But that would mean... Yes, your wife has been doing this for at least the last 5 years, James said. Damn, I said. And yet, how did she manage to do this during her work trips? From what we were able to glean from her conversations, she was cutting her trips short by 1 or 2 days, James explained. She participated in the event. Then she needed a day or two to, clean herself up and come to her senses. She believed that in a couple of days she would be so well that you would not notice any changes in her. This lying bitch, I thought to myself. All this time I never once understood what was going on. She took great pains to keep you from finding out about her other life, James said. She often disguised herself using wigs, temporary tattoos, and contact lenses designed to change the color of her eyes. She knew you respected her privacy enough not to rummage through her closet, so she was able to hide the tools of her trade, so to speak. In many ways, this was true, I thought, remembering all the things I found in her closet and desk drawer. But James wasn't done yet. About 3 years ago, Stanton decided to make a little extra money from monthly group entertainment and began filming them for sale. Everyone who agreed to take part received a small share of the fee, he said. Your wife agreed to participate and signed an open-ended contract, according to which she agreed to shoot 5 videos a year. She's directed 15 feature films for Stanton so far, he added, pointing to a stack of DVDs. Stanton posted 5 to 10-minute snippets of these videos as advertisements on a number of adult websites, James said. At the moment, these clips have been viewed and downloaded hundreds of thousands of times. Your wife's qualities are pretty well known by now, but that is not all. A month or so ago, Stanton hired your wife full-time. In addition to her role as a performer, she was tasked with recruiting and training girls to do what she does, James said. I sat there in shock, digesting what James was telling me. So, what does the FBI have to do with all this? I asked. Special Agent Jones spoke up. Do you remember that sex cult case that the local actress was involved in a few years ago? Jones asked. Yes, I remember something about that, I said. As far as I remember, the leader received a huge prison sentence for this. Yes, he was sentenced to 120 years, Jones said. We believe something similar is happening with your wife and Stanton. We can't go into details right now, but we will need to take your wife into custody. We would greatly appreciate your cooperation in this matter. Of course, I will do everything in my power to help, I said. If Donna was involved in something like this, there's no way I would just sit around and do nothing. What do you suggest I do? We discussed strategy for about an hour. I listened as Smith and Jones outlined what they wanted to do, and the rest of us contributed. Finally, we agreed on a plan of action. Okay, Mr. Carson, Jones said, standing up. See you on Sunday. Sounds interesting, Agent Jones, I said, shaking his hand. We said goodbye, and I watched them leave. I'm so sorry about all this, Bob, Robin said. I must admit that this matter is worth the candle. I've never seen anything like it. I can hardly believe that she deceived me for so long, I said. I feel like a Kentucky Fried idiot. Robin took a business card from her briefcase and handed it to me. Bob, I think that when this is all over, you really should talk to someone, she said. This consultant, in my opinion, is the best in his business. I really think you should call her. I looked at the card and noticed the name, Dr. Jamie Bronson. I'll call her as soon as I get home, I said. Good idea, she said. I shook her hands and collected what James had given me, then headed home. Once I got there, I called Dr. Bronson and made an appointment to see her the following Wednesday. I then moved on to the tasks we discussed in Robin's office. Sunday, 2:05 p.m., Bob and Donna Carson house. It was just after 1:00 when the door opened and Donna walked in, carrying a suitcase, her briefcase, and a rolling duffel bag, as well as a large clothes bag. She laid everything out on the sofa and looked at me with a smile on her face. Her smile slowly faded when she saw everything laid out on the kitchen table in front of me. Sit down, Donna, I said calmly. We need to talk. I really need to go take a shower and clean everything up first, she said. It can wait? No, Donna, I said firmly. We need to talk now. But... I said sit down, woman! I roared. She recoiled from my verbal attack. I've never raised my voice to her like that in all the years we've been together. She slowly walked over to the kitchen table, looking at everything I had laid out. She pulled out a chair and sat down. "What does all of this mean?" she asked. I ignored her question. "Tell me something, Donna," I said. "It was you I saw in Oklahoma City the week you claimed to be in Houston, wasn't it?" The shocked expression on her face changed, and Donna, who was sitting in front of me, turned into something I didn't recognize. "Yes, it was me," she said calmly. "I was surprised to see you there and half expected you to do something. It's good that you didn't do this. These guys would stomp you into the ground. By the way, how did you recognize me?" "You can dress up any way you want, Donna. Or is it D? But no matter what you do, it won't change your face. I would recognize you anywhere," I told her. "So, were you ever going to tell me about the 3 abortions you had?" "Actually, there were 4 abortions," she said. "The first one was a couple of months before we got married." "Were any of these children mine?" I asked. "Maybe," she said. "Maybe, I don't know. I've had sex with a lot of guys, including Black or Latino guys. I didn't want to risk giving you a child who was clearly biracial. Besides, I really didn't want to be burdened with a child. In the end, it's my choice." I nodded my head. "Yes, I agree that it's your choice," I said. "But it's also my choice to never want to touch you again." "How long has this shit been going on?" "I know it's been at least 5 years. This went on even before we got engaged," she said. "At first it was maybe once every 2 months or so. Then it became a monthly event. Eventually, I would do this every time I was out of town. At first, I arranged all this myself. Then I met Harry Stanton, and everything changed." "Why?" I asked, shaking my head. "It's simple," she said. "I like sex. A lot of. I like it when several men have me at once. Do not get me wrong. You are a great husband and a wonderful lover. You always drove me crazy. But there was also a difference. You made love to me. They just fucked me. Again and again and again. That's all that happened. Just sex. It had nothing to do with you, and it never changed how I felt about you. I loved you. I still love you. I've never turned you down, and nothing I've done has ever hurt you. So now that you know, there's no point in hiding it." "You're a stupid fool," I said. "You think nothing you did hurt me?" "Really? You fucking gave me gonorrhea, you stupid bitch. Did you tell them you had sex with me, or did you lie about that too?" "I really regret it," she said. "I thought that as soon as I got my chance, everything would be fine. And no, I did not include you in my list of sexual partners." "Fucking amazing. No wonder I didn't get any warning." "Well, obviously you weren't all right," I said. "How long did you plan to continue doing this crap?" "I don't know," she said. "Maybe several years. I decided that once I saved up a few million, I could retire, and then we could go on a cruise and reconnect. I take it this isn't going to happen now, is it?" "No," I told her. "I have already completed the divorce papers." "You won't do that," she said with a grin. "First of all, you don't have the courage to divorce me. Secondly, I will bury you in divorce. I'll take everything you have, and who knows what Harry and his boys will do to you." "Is this what you think?" I asked. "We'll see." I looked towards the front of the house and shouted, "Okay, now you can go out." At that same moment, the door to my home office opened and 5 people came out. Donna looked up in surprise. James walked up to Donna and looked down at her. "Donna Carson," he said, handing her a manila envelope. "You have been notified." I handed her a pen. "If I were you, I would sign this now so we can end this sham marriage," I said. "I won't sign this," she said. "I will fight with you every step of the way." "It might be a little difficult because the FBI will freeze your funds," I said. She looked at me in shock. "FBI?" she asked. I nodded my head. "Yes," I told her. "Meet Special Agent Jones and Agent Smith. They will take you into custody. I understand they have a warrant for your arrest. So sign the papers now. In 60 days it will all be over and you can focus on your defense." I saw her deflate while I was talking. Trembling, she took the pen and signed the papers. James witnessed her signature and affixed his notary seal, then took them back. "I'll take this to Miss Hawkins," he said. 2 other people, Donna's parents, walked around to look at Donna. Her mother spoke first. "Donna, I'm so ashamed of you," she said. How could you do this to Bob? I'm just following in your footsteps, Mom. Donna spat. Her father and I looked at Donna's mother in shock. You're the one who told me that I should grab everything I can get. Is this true, Denise? Asked her father, Ralph. Denise muttered something for several seconds, but did not say anything intelligible. We'll talk about this when we get home, Denise, he told her. He looked at me before speaking again. I'm sorry about all this, Bob, he said. I had no idea. We have all of Donna's things, and she can come to our house for them whenever she can. Do us a favor and stay in touch, okay? Of course, Ralph, I said, shaking his hand. Thank you. I watched them leave. After the door closed behind them, Agent Jones spoke. Donna Carson, you are under arrest on charges of conspiracy, racketeering, and sex trafficking. Please stand up, turn around, and put your hands behind your back, he said. Donna followed his instructions and glared at me as Jones read her rights. Once she was handcuffed, they dragged her outside. James looked at me after they left. Everything went well, he said with a wry smile. Are you okay? Yes, James, I'll be fine, I said. He nodded his head, then extended his hand. Take care of yourself, Bob, he said as we shook hands. 6 months later, the divorce went off without a hitch, thanks in large part to Robin's work and the criminal charges against Donna. Federal authorities arrested several people involved in Stanton's operation, including Stanton himself. After a couple of months of investigations, trials began. Donna was considered a flight risk and was denied bail. The court provided her with enough funds to pay for her defense. By the time the trial ended, she had spent more than 3/4 of her savings paying for her defense team. I spoke to her once after she was arrested. When the final divorce papers arrived, I visited her in the county jail where she was being held. They brought her out in shackles and tied her to the table opposite me. She looked like she had lost a little weight and had dark bags under her eyes. You look like shit, Donna, I said. Yeah, well, orange isn't really my color, she said. What do you want? She's still the same impudent bitch, as far as I'm concerned, I said. I was just curious to know if you've received the final divorce papers yet. I received them today, she said. You know, I had the opportunity to watch some of your videos, I told her. Did you like them? She asked with a grin. No, actually. I find them quite disgusting, I said. It doesn't matter, she said, shrugging. However, I was curious about something, I told her. I noticed that they all start the same way. A small, homely guy is beaten, stripped, and tied to a chair with a cock cage on it. Was this your idea? Actually, that's how it was, she said smugly. Was it supposed to represent me or something? I asked. Is this what you really wanted to do to me? Yes, it was my idea, she said. I've thought about doing this to you several times. This was a long-time fantasy of mine, and I really enjoyed it. You really are a sick bitch, you know that? She shrugged. You really didn't think I'd just sit there and let you do something like that to me, did you? I don't know, she said. Maybe. Well, it's good that you never tried, I said. I've never hit a woman in my life, but I think that if you tried to do something like that, I would be very tempted to kill you. She looked at me in shock. I didn't wait for an answer. I've heard some stories about what you and Stanton did to some of these girls, I said. How can you even live in harmony with yourself? What? Should I start crying? Maybe say I'm sorry and beg for forgiveness? She spat at me. I shook my head. No, I would expect that from a person, I said. Or at least a creature with a conscience. But we both know that neither of those terms describe you, right? You know, on reflection, I think it's good that you never had children. You were a lousy wife, and you would be a lousy mother. I thought I saw a little sadness in her eyes, but in fact I didn't care, and I continued to insist. Why don't you do humanity a favor and just kill yourself? I asked. Her eyes widened. There are enough problems in the world as it is, and we certainly don't need you wasting precious air. I got up and got ready to leave. Oh my God, I turned you into a monster, didn't I? She asked. You really hate me, don't you? Have you figured out all this crap yourself? I asked. Yes, in fact, I really hate you with every fiber of my being. Thanks to you, I don't think I'll ever love or trust another woman again. I hope it was all worth it for you. Enjoy the rest of your pathetic life, bitch. Goodbye. I turned and walked away. I thought I heard her sob, but I didn't really care. I wanted to hurt her with my words, and I hoped that what I said got through to her. Shortly after that final meeting, Donna testified to the state, telling federal authorities everything they wanted to know. As part of her agreement, she pleaded guilty to some lesser charges and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. James told me she would likely spend most of this time isolated in an unknown location. Thanks to her testimony, Stanton was sentenced to 105 years in prison. Knowing that he would be Bubba's bitch for the better part of the next century brought a smile to my face. The rest of his team also received harsh sentences. Ralph and Denise separated for a couple of months after an argument at my house. She claimed that she never cheated on him, but he found it very difficult to believe her. They almost got divorced, but she convinced him to attend marriage counseling with her. They are still together, but things are a little strained between them. I moved forward and did everything I could to get Donna out of my life. I sold my house and bought an apartment near my work. I started going to the gym a few days a week to get back in shape. I dated a few and even had sex with a few women, but never felt a connection with any of them. I started consulting with Dr. Branson, and she has helped me with many of my problems, but I know I have a long way to go. Unless you've been there and walked a few miles in my shoes, you have no idea what it's like to find out that the person you've given your love and trust to for years has betrayed you the same way Donna betrayed me. But things are going a little better. I have my job, my new apartment, my freedom, and I noticed that some women at work began to pay attention to the new me. Yes, I still have some problems that I'm working on, but who knows? After all, tomorrow is another day. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.